Our group will explain the concept of change management and how it can be implemented into a real-life example to move the company in a positive direction. When we have been alerted that overall performance is not at a maximum efficiency, we will implement our training program so that the information can be relayed to employees to raise performance output. Using the ADDIE model, we decided to analyze problems that might occur in a workplace. After analyzing that these problems may include personal computer use, personal cell phone use, vulgar language, and improper use of work time, we designed a contract for change to aim to improve these problems. We then developed solutions for these problems, like requiring employees to download an application on their computer that blocks and limits social media websites. We also will provide employees with a company cell phone to use during work hours and restrict personal cell phone use. Employees will be required to clock in during their work hours and clock out when they are not working. We will implement these new regulations by providing disciplinary action for any behavior that does not follow these rules. The consequences will be on a strike basis, and failure to follow these rules may result in termination. To evaluate these new rules, we will conduct before and after surveys regarding employees' personal time spent at the office and their work behavior. With using change management, we will set the following goals. Employees will be able to identify problems occurring in the workplace, be given new company regulations to abide by during work hours, be able to understand why these situations are problematic, and that there will be consequences for failure to abide by new rules and regulations. The company will benefit from the new regulation taking place in the organization. Those goals will be accomplished by a training program that all employees will be required to take. It will be a 4-hour-long training program that will correct negative behavior in the workplace. We will review with our training staff what needs to be relayed to the employees to ensure that they will get the correct information. The trainers will present a PowerPoint that explains the problems occurring in the workplace and how they can be corrected. They will also go into detail about the new policies. The PowerPoint that is presented to the employees will look like this. During this PowerPoint, we'll cover these following objectives. What is change management? What is a contract for change? What issues are presented in the workplace? An anonymous survey and discussion, review of problems in the workplace, new policies and consequences that will be implemented, and to sign the contract for change. Change management is the idea of making positive improvements within a business or organization. Change management is necessary when there are issues that are not being solved within a workplace. Often interventions and training programs are scheduled to solve related problems. A contract for change is a document that is instilled to prompt change. It is used to advise and guide employees to abide by certain company policies. These contracts are instilled to allow the employee to grow with the company and to allow them to be set on equal terms. Some issues in the workplace consist of personal phone calls, using vulgar or inappropriate language, visiting personal social media websites, disappearing or leaving work early without an excuse or reason, refusing to accept or complete a task. At this time, we will provide the employees with a survey and allow them to take the time to fill it out honestly. The survey will consist of the following questions. This survey will gather how much of their time during an average day is lost because of bad habits in the work environment. It will ask questions like, how much time is spent with a personal call, text messaging, on social media sites, avoiding tasks, and how much time is taken in addition to an allotted break. Depending on the responses from the employees, if the surveys show results from 0 to 15 minutes per day off topic, then the employees are remaining on task and getting their work done. Anything more than 15 minutes, it will be recommended to implement change management. To gauge their results, we will ask questions like these. What surprised them, what have they learned, and what they think will be the proper way to go about fixing these problems. By accepting or participating in personal phone calls during your shift, you are not only procrastinating your own work, but you are becoming a distraction that could slow down the work effort of other people. This also applies to personal texts and emails. Vulgar or inappropriate language. Using inappropriate and vulgar language towards fellow employees, management, or valued customers is highly prohibited in the workplace. These poor habits are taken very seriously because being disrespectful to customers could risk high-valued opportunities. Visiting social media websites can include Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Tumblr, and MySpace. or any other sites abused by the employee or deemed for personal use are also applied. This causes a similar problem that you may not only be distracting yourself, but other employees. Another common problem that occurs in the workplace is leaving the premise without a valid reason. This includes exiting the building for cigarette breaks without clocking out, or leaving without completing your shift or prior approval from management. When asked to complete a task, you are expected to do so in the allotted amount of time that you are given. Refusal of a task is a serious problem. Refusing to complete a task can affect the entire project if the missing component was dependent on the other parts. Those were some common problems that slow down the process of getting work done. In order to avoid those poor habits, there will be new policies to enforce staying on topic. There will either be a 3-strike rule or a 1-strike rule, depending on the type of action. The 3-strike rule will consist of strike 1 will be a warning, strike 2 will be a vacation day deduction, and strike 3 will be termination. And the 1-strike rule is a one-time policy, and if you break this contract, you will be excused from all work activity and automatic recommendation for termination. To help prohibit these bad work habits, here are some new policies that will be implemented. The first new policy that will be implemented is that we will be providing employees with company cell phones. Each employee will be given a company cell phone. They will be permitted to use the phone strictly during work hours only. As management, we will have the authority to monitor all text messages and all phone calls to ensure that they are work-related and that the privilege is not being abused. Personal cell phone calls are permitted when on break and when the employee is no longer clocked in. The next new policy that will be enforced is installing the concentration application. This app will allow management to ban certain websites that are decided would only be used for personal use. Personal social media sites will now be permanently restricted through the concentration app. Additional software will also be installed to prevent any employee distractions and abuse of company resources. The final policy that will be implemented is a clock-in system. Management will be distributing employee badges to allow them to clock in and out of work every day. Each employee will receive a unique badge and a specific passcode. Every time the employee leaves or enters the building, they will be required to swipe their ID card and enter their passcode. Activity of the badge, such as leaving or entering the building, will be monitored daily. Leaving while unexcused or not clocking out for cigarette and lunch breaks, personal phone calls, or other personal matters will result in falsifying pay. These following actions will be under the 3-strike policy. This will apply automatically without a chance for appeal. This will apply to personal phone calls, text, and emails, falsifying pay, abusing personal social media, refusing to accept a task or project, or leaving while unexcused. Each time these policies are broken, you will receive a strike. As stated before, the first strike will result in a warning, the second strike will result in a deduction of vacation days, and the final strike will result in termination. These following set of actions will fall under the 1-strike rule and will also not have the option to appeal. These actions consist of use of vulgar or inappropriate language towards employees, management, or customers, and also includes harassment or physical or mental abuse. At this time, we will have time set aside for the employees to ask any questions they have or about any topics that are still unclear to them. At this time, the training team will explain that in 1 month, they will have a follow-up session to review their progress. You will be given the same survey that was previously taken. Once that survey is completed, the results will be analyzed by the training team, and if there is not a significant deduction in off-topic time, stricter policies will be implemented. At this time, the training team will be providing the employees with a contract for change that they will be required to sign in order to continue working. This contract will list all the new additions to the working contract and will need to be fully understood before signing. The contract for change will consist of these following questions. I agree to use the company-provided phone for work use and emergencies only. I agree to only use my personal cell phone during breaks and when I am no longer clocked in. I understand that management has the authority and the right to monitor all phone calls and text messages made on my company cell phone. I agree to use my new employee badge when entering and exiting the building. I agree to clock out every time I leave the premise. This includes, but is not limited to, cigarette breaks, lunch breaks, personal calls, and personal matters. I understand that leaving the premise or participating in personal matters while clocked in is falsifying pay. I understand that new software will be installed on my computer to prevent social media abuse. I understand that personal social media is prohibited entirely while working. I agree to restrain from inappropriate and vulgar language, as well as abuse and harassment in the workplace. I agree to complete any task delegated to me with the best of my ability. I understand the 3-strike rule and agree to abide by it in full. I understand the 1-strike rule and agree to abide by it in full. Once the employees have read through all the 12 statements and thoroughly understand the new policies, they will be asked to sign the contract. As stated before, in order to continue working, a signature will be required. The signing of the employee contract will then wrap up the training workshop. We hope that the session will be helpful to the employees and will be able to give a clear understanding for all the new policies. The overall goal is not to punish the employees, but rather create better habits and limit the amount of time that is wasted during a workday. If all the unproductive time is put towards accomplishing tasks, things will get done more efficiently and thoroughly than ever before. To gather input about the training sessions, we will provide an anonymous survey to the employees. The survey will look like this. It will ask basic questions that will give feedback about the training session. It will ask questions like, how effective was the change management training program? It will also provide a scale for employees to rate how closely they will follow the new policies or whether they are likely to keep some of their old habits. It will also give opportunities for feedback with the hope that we will be able to improve the training sessions so that it is more effective next time. These questions will be, what do you suggest for future change management training programs, and what was the most effective tool in this training program? We hope for honest answers because that is the best way for us to know what needs to be changed in order for the session to be more effective. With this feedback, we want to know how involved the person was to determine how accurate their feedback is. To prove that, we will ask the employees to put themselves on the scale depending on how actively engaged they were in the program, rating from they did not attend to they were very active. We will also ask whether the survey effectively applied to the problems in the workplace. And if they feel that it didn't, we will leave them space for them to explain why they feel that way. Finally, we will provide an area that will allow them to provide any feedback that they would like the trained staff to know. Any feedback will be relayed to the management team to hear what they have to say. This will be the conclusion to the training session. Overall, we believe that this would be the best way to implement change management. Every workplace has their problems, but the first step is being able to point them out. And that is just the easy step. The next step is knowing the proper way to fix them. The best way to fix these problems is by knowing and understanding change management. In order to be able to get employees to understand and abide by new rules, you will need management to first fully understand the process. And like stated before, with using change management, employees will be able to identify problems occurring in the workplace, be given new company regulations to abide by during work hours, be able to understand why these situations are problematic and that there will be consequences for failure to abide by the new rules and regulations. And overall, the company will benefit from the new regulations the most because they will be more efficient and more effective.